Growing up in California's Central Valley, my life was a blend of challenges and small victories. My early years were spent in a cramped trailer near Fresno, living with my mother and two younger siblings. Our modest home was too close to the Southern Pacific Railroad tracks, where the constant rumble of trains reminded us of our tough circumstances. Despite these hardships, my mother, a dedicated cashier at Bi-Mart supermarket, kept us together after my father, Jack Scott, left us for another woman. My childhood wasn't easy, but it taught me the value of resilience and determination. My sister Janet and I managed to stay out of trouble, graduating from high school and moving on to college. I earned a modest scholarship to pursue a marketing degree, while Janet's academic excellence led her to a successful law career. Our younger brother Eric struggled to find his path, often causing tension within the family. Despite our differences, we all sought our own version of success. In our tumultuous family, my sister and I avoided pitfalls and completed our education. With a modest scholarship, I earned a BA in marketing, while my sister secured a substantial scholarship, eventually becoming a lawyer. Eric, on the other hand, seemed to excel at causing trouble, earning what I joked was an associate's degree in foolishness. Mom would finish her cashier shift at Bi-Mart at 5:30 p.m. and come home to make supper. The ground shaking from the 6 p.m. freight train signaled us to stop playing, go inside, and set the table. We moved there after my father left, so it was just Mom raising us. Other than minimal child support, we never heard from our dad again. Despite the turmoil, my sister and I stayed out of trouble and completed high school and college. Thanks to a modest scholarship, I graduated with a BA in marketing. My sister got a better scholarship and eventually became a lawyer. My little brother Eric, however, seemed to focus on being a nuisance. While my sister got along with Eric, he and I weren't close. He always seemed jealous of my successes, despite being better looking with his blonde hair and blue eyes. His jobs, grocery stock boy in high school, residential construction as an adult, were respectable, but he lacked the drive to climb the corporate ladder. He did okay, but never reached my income levels. Timing was everything. In 1985, I landed a job as a marketing associate at a California startup that grew into an online giant. 16 years later, I struck gold when it was acquired by a global media giant. By then, I had worked my way up to vice president of marketing and walked away with executive-level stock options and severance money. It was enough to buy a house for my mother, travel the world, drive a Porsche, and live in a mansion with a pool in Palo Alto. However, it also attracted a high-maintenance trophy wife. Life was good until my wealth became incredibly expensive. My trophy wife, Tiffany, timed everything perfectly, marrying me just weeks before my severance payout. Half of my newly acquired fortune went to her, along with the house and my beloved Porsche in exchange for no alimony. If not for my lawyer demanding a DNA test, I would have paid 18 years of child support for Paul Jr. The test shockingly revealed that my son was actually my nephew. Tiffany's affair partner and the baby's father was my younger brother Eric, who was married with 2 kids. Despite the heartbreak, the 3 months I spent with Paul Jr. were the happiest of my life, and losing him hurt more than losing Tiffany. It made me realize how much I loved being a father and stirred up feelings about my own father's abandonment. I couldn't understand why my dad left us if being a father was so great. I even made it a goal to piss on his grave. At least Eric didn't escape unscathed. Tiffany wasn't just a homebody, she was a homewrecker. When Paul Jr.'s DNA results came in, Eric's wife, Amrita, took their daughters and flew back to India. Thanks to my lawyer, I dodged child support, and the court replaced my name on the birth certificate with Eric's. Paul Jr. was now just Little Paul. It had been a terrible year. Little Paul was born in April. I discovered the affair in June, hired a private investigator, and filed for divorce in July. It was granted in August, finalizing in March. Depressed and filled with self-doubt, I left my shattered life in California for New Mexico, one of the cheapest states to live in. I wasn't poor, but I wanted to stretch my money. I allowed myself one splurge, a restored 1974 Volkswagen Transporter van, reminiscent of my high school and college days. It looked rough, but was mechanically sound, perfect to avoid theft. I drove 950 miles through Arizona to Gallup, New Mexico in 2 days, sleeping at a truck stop in Kingman, Arizona. Gallup, with a population of about 21,000 and an average income of $35,000, was ideal. I stayed in a cheap motel, then found a single-wide trailer in Western Skies Mobile Home Park. It was dingy outside, but in decent shape inside. I bought it for $5,273. While unpacking, I noticed my neighbor, a small woman with long dark hair and a ponytail. Eager for a friendly connection, I bought a flower arrangement. and fresh cookies from La Montanita Market. Armed with these, I knocked on her screen door. A small boy with jet black hair and copper skin answered. I introduced myself. "Hello, I'm your new neighbor Paul, and I came to say hello." The boy just stared at me silently. The woman I had seen earlier approached with a suspicious look. "Can I help you?" she asked. She was smaller than I thought, about 4'11", wearing a simple blue dress and rubber sandals. From her appearance and accent, I guessed she was Filipina. She had a half smile, with the left side of her face drooping slightly, possibly from nerve damage. Her budget glasses were held together by duct tape, and her left eyelid also sagged a bit. Despite this, she was very pretty. Feeling a hint of optimism, I introduced myself again. "Hi, I was just telling your boy that I'm your new neighbor, Paul. I came to say hello." Looking into her nice brown eyes, I remembered the gifts. "Here, these flowers and cookies are for you." She took them, and her suspicious look began to fade into a smile. "Thank you. That's very gracious of you. I'm Aurora Santos, but my friends call me Dawn." She nodded at her son. "That's Jacob. He's 4. Don't mind him staring. He does that with men since his father left." She invited me in and made coffee while Jacob enjoyed the cookies. She explained that her ex-husband was in jail for domestic misuse, which caused her palsy-like symptoms. At 32, with only a high school education, she worked as a pharmacy cashier and relied on food stamps. I shared my recent divorce and how my wife cheated and tried to pass off another man's baby as mine, which hurt more than losing her. After 2 hours of chatting, we felt like friends when she hugged me goodbye. The smell of her shampoo and the warmth of her small body made me wish for more than friendship, but it was too soon. The next day, I bought a new mattress, pillows, sheets, kitchen utensils, and a 32-inch flat-screen TV. Then, I focused on finding a job. I had half of what was once a large amount of money, now just sizable, mostly in savings. My credit rating was still in the 800s, so I was okay, but knew it wouldn't last forever. I didn't need an executive position, just something to cover groceries. Through a temp agency, I got a job on the loading dock of a shipping logistics company. As the weeks passed, I settled into a routine. Breakfast, work, lunch, work, dinner, TV, and sleep. On Saturdays, I'd go grocery shopping and invite Dawn and Jacob along since I had a van. It wasn't actually a date, but I enjoyed spending time with them. Jacob was my buddy. If Dawn told him no, I'd secretly buy whatever he wanted and share it later. Sundays were laundry days after Dawn and Jacob returned from church. We'd walk to the Western Skies laundry room together. Dawn's laundry always took longer, so I'd help with Jacob and fold clothes, sneaking peeks at her underwear purely out of curiosity. Dawn and I started looking out for each other. When she worked overtime, I'd pick up Jacob from daycare and babysit him. I got good at his bedtime routine, reading stories until he fell asleep. Sometimes I felt sad thinking about the baby I lost due to Tiffany's infidelity, but I quickly moved on. We exchanged keys to our trailers, and when I got the flu, Dawn found me bedridden and took care of me, cooking chicken tinola and changing my bedding. Unlike Tiffany, who barely helped when I was sick, Dawn was attentive. As September turned into October, I realized I wanted more than just friendship with Dawn, but hesitated due to my insecurities. One Saturday, a rude cashier gave me the push I needed. Dawn was ahead of me in line, and when she used food stamps, the cashier muttered, "Another leech." Dawn's hand shook slightly, and she lowered her head in shame. Angry, I went around my cart, pulled out my platinum card, and handed it to the cashier, saying, "She's no leech, she's my girlfriend, I'll pay." The cashier shut up quickly. I paid for Dawn's groceries and mine, and we left. Looking back, I realized I used money to solve a problem I should have handled differently. My strong feelings for Dawn overrode my social instincts. In the parking lot, I loaded our groceries as Dawn wiped away her tears. "Thank you, Paul," she said quietly. "You didn't have to do all that." Playing dumb, I replied, "Do all what?" "Paying for my groceries and lying about me being your girlfriend." Her soft Filipina accent made "girlfriend" sound heartwarming. After living next to her for a couple of months, I liked almost everything about her. "Dawn, you don't deserve to be treated like that. I don't mind taking care of you and Jacob." I paused, lowering my voice. "Besides, it doesn't have to be a lie, you know." Her eyes widened in surprise. "What do you mean?" Right there by the shopping carts, I impulsively made my move. I hugged her closely, not just a friendly hug. "What I'm saying is, it's up to you if you want to be my girlfriend. I'd love to be your boyfriend." I put it out there. She gently pushed away, clearly surprised. I wasn't sorry. It meant I was ready to move on from my ex-wife's torment. I don't know," she stammered. I need to think about it. I never expected this. While Dawn got in the front seat, I secured Jacob in his child seat, then drove us home. Back at the trailer, Dawn took Jacob out while I unloaded groceries. After putting hers in her kitchen, I unpacked mine. I was putting away my Twinkies when there was a tap at my door. To my delight, it was Dawn. "Come in. If you were my girlfriend, you wouldn't have to knock," I teased. Dawn entered and sat at my table, looking serious. I asked Mrs. Meyer to watch Jacob so we could talk. "Paul, were you serious about wanting me to be your girlfriend?" I took her hands. "Dawn, I swear on my grandmother's grave, I'm 100% serious. I want us to be a couple." She shook her head. "Why do you want me? It makes no sense. You could have any woman. I'm a broke single mom on food stamps. I have the figure of an ironing board and I'm disfigured. If I don't use a straw, I drool. My left eyelid doesn't close fully. I wear an eye patch at night. You should be embarrassed to be with me." I groaned in exasperation, angry at what her ex had done to her self-esteem. "Aurora Dawn Santos, that's your opinion, but it's wrong. I thought you were pretty the first day we met, and as I've gotten to know you, I found you sweet and kind." I walked around the table, pulled her to her feet, and held her shoulders. "And I find you hot as hell. You said I could have any woman. Well, here's a newsflash. I want you." I felt it was the right moment to kiss her, so I did. Her unique smile made the kiss different but enjoyable. Holding her close, I whispered, "You're flawless." She sighed. "You're a man, Paul Scott, and men are usually wrong, but I want to believe you." Despite the generalization, she gave her answer. "I'll be your girlfriend, but you need to start coming to Sunday Mass with me and Jacob. You need to be a good role model for my son." She kissed me again, long and soft. Though I wasn't religious, that kiss gave me all the motivation I needed. "Agreed," I whispered, unsure about being a role model, but willing to try for her. She interrupted my thoughts, saying, "I need to make dinner for Jacob. Tomorrow, take me back to the store. I need a few things to make a special dinner for my new boyfriend." She kissed me again and added, "Please take things slow, Paul. I've been through a lot, and I'm afraid your feelings may not last. I'm not a big city girl eager to trap a man. If you want my heart, be patient." She walked out, and I admired her as she crossed the driveway with a happy spring in her step. It gave me hope, making me feel worthwhile. The next day, Maureen Meyer, a retired hairdresser, babysat Jacob while Dawn and I went grocery shopping. To avoid another condescending cashier incident, I withdrew $200 from an ATM and handed it to her. She tried to refuse, but I insisted, saying, "I'm your boyfriend now. If I want to spoil you, it's my prerogative." She looked down and quietly said, "Thank you, Paul." When we arrived at La Montanita Market, Dawn asked me to wait in the van. With Gallup's temperature in the mid-60s, I rolled down the windows and took a nap on the back seat. I woke up to the sound of the side doors opening and bags being loaded. Then, I felt Dawn's lips on mine. I pulled her close and whispered, "I miss my girlfriend," noticing the top buttons of her blouse were undone. "Hey," I teased, "were you trying to make me jealous in the supermarket?" Dawn giggled. "Are you really jealous?" I kissed her neck, growling, "Of course you're my girlfriend. No way I'm letting anyone else have you." Dawn gently pulled away, reminding me about the perishables. Before getting into the front seat, she kissed me again, saying, "You're doing a great job as my boyfriend." Her praise made me insanely happy. Back at the trailers, she picked up Jacob from Mrs. Meyer while I unloaded groceries. Dawn banished us to my trailer while she cooked. We watched a Disney movie and played chutes and ladders. The delicious smell of roast pork and biscuits wafted through the open windows. When dinner was ready, Jacob eagerly sat at the table, and Dawn served him first. She placed a napkin in my lap and kissed my cheek, explaining the meal. "It's machado, a Philippine dish my mother taught me. Beef chuck roast with strips of pork fat, marinated, seared, and braised with tomatoes. Plus, fresh-made biscuits and chocolate rice pudding for dessert." Stunned, I hugged her. "Sweetie, this must have been a lot of work. What did I do to deserve it?" She kissed my head, saying, "You're my man now, taking care of me and my son. As your girlfriend, I can spoil you too." I pulled her into my lap and asked Jacob, "Hey buddy, can I kiss your mom?" With his mouth full, he nodded enthusiastically. I kissed Dawn softly, feeling like I never wanted it to end. When it did, I whispered, "Aurora Dawn Santos, I am absolutely falling in love with you." I realized I had everything: a decent job, a good meal, a boy who looked up to me, and most importantly, a woman who would never cheat on me. I felt a pang of remorse about Tiffany, but quickly dismissed it. Dawn responded to my declaration with another tender kiss, then dabbed her mouth with a napkin. "Eat your machado before it gets cold," she softly chided, filling my plate. Dinner and dessert were delicious. Afterward, I cleaned up, while Dawn got Jacob ready for bed. She returned as I was about to start on the pots and pans, wrapped the dish towel around my neck and kissed me. "Jacob wants you to help with his goodnight prayers," she said, smirking. I walked to Jacob's room, where he was on his knees, hands folded, ready to pray. I joined him, and he seriously intoned, "God bless Mommy, Lola, and Lolo in the Philippines, Mrs. Meyer for taking care of me, and Mr. Paul for playing with me and making Mommy happy again. Amen." Realizing it was my turn, I folded my hands and said, "God bless my sister Janet and my mom. God bless Mrs. Meyer for being a good neighbor. God bless Jacob for being my new friend." Struggling to think of what to say about Dawn, I added, "God bless Dawn for showing me I could love again. Amen." Jacob hugged me, so I picked him up, tucked him in, and kissed his forehead. "Good night, little buddy." "Good night, Mr. Paul. Tell Mommy she still needs to kiss me good night, too." I nodded and returned to the kitchen. Dawn was finishing the dishes. I lifted her up and kissed her. "Jacob needs your kiss goodnight," I said, setting her down. Hugging her, I whispered, "Don't be gone too long. You don't want your boyfriend to get lonely. Go sit on the couch and keep your lap open. Your girlfriend will be right back," she replied, slipping out of my arms and heading to Jacob's room. I stretched out on the sofa and turned on the TV. A couple of minutes later, Dawn joined me and we started making out. Things got heated, but when I tried to reach under her blouse, she gently pulled my hand away. "I'm sorry, Paul. I really want you, but it's too soon for that. Please don't hate me." Holding her close, I calmed my lust and kissed the top of her head. "I understand. I don't hate you. I meant it when I said I was falling in love with you. I know you need time, and I promise I'll be patient." She buried her face in my chest and quietly cried, dampening my shirt. That shirt became sacred. I decided I'd never wash or wear it again. Eventually, Dawn stopped crying and got up. As I walked to the door and turned to thank her for the meal, she pulled me down for another kiss. Afterward, she opened the door, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Thank you for being patient. I think I'm falling in love with you, too." Hearing this made me ecstatic. I told her, "Actually, that makes me feel a lot better. Good night, my darling." She smiled and closed the door. The next morning, I went to work, but my mind was on Dawn. With Tiffany, the sex was amazing, but our relationship was shallow. We had good times, but didn't maintain a meaningful connection. Solving problems with money instead of therapy might have made it easy for my brother Eric to seduce her. With Dawn, we liked each other and were affectionate. Since Zex was off the table, we focused on building our relationship. Just a couple of months in, I felt truly committed. I was confident Dawn would never cheat, and I hoped she felt the same. I was optimistic, but knew I needed to be patient, as I promised. We discussed personal preferences and long-term goals. Gallup was temporary for both of us, and we hoped to move together when the time was right. I didn't pressure Dawn about my big goal of having a baby and being a father, though I longed for it after my brief experience with little Paul. At 37, I wanted to experience fatherhood again before people mistook me for a grandfather. One warm Saturday afternoon in October, while sitting alone in my trailer, I overheard Dawn and Mrs. Meyer talking. Dawn had just paid Mrs. Meyer for babysitting, and they were making small talk until Mrs. Meyer switched to giving her opinion on Dawn's life. Mrs. Meyer was a great sitter for Jacob, but also a busybody who loved giving advice. I heard her say, "Jacob is such a sweet boy. He shouldn't grow up as an only child. He needs a sibling. Don't you agree?" Dawn replied, "A brother or sister would be nice, but I'm not in a position to—" Mrs. Meyer laughed. "Not in a position? You've got a man who's crazy about you. You better get in position, preferably under him." "Yes, Paul's my boyfriend, but we haven't—" "Oh, I know. I've seen him walking funny back to his trailer like he's carrying something heavy in his briefs." Forget security cameras. Mrs. Meyer saw everything. She continued, "If I was 15 years younger, I'd be all over that man. There are plenty of women here wanting him, but he's only got eyes for you. For now, anyway." I knew Dawn was flustered. Mrs. Meyer's loud voice carried clearly. "Dawn, you're the queen of Paul Scott's heart. But to keep him, you need to take him to bed soon. He and your son adore each other. Imagine how happy he'd be if you gave him a child." Mrs. Meyer was right. I'd be overjoyed if Dawn got pregnant. I hoped Dawn would take her advice to heart. That night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep despite drinking 3 more beers. I kept imagining a pregnant Dawn. The promise to be patient felt heavier than ever. The night was hot and humid, and rain was forecasted. I heard a key in my door. Dawn was the only one with a key. I pretended to sleep to see what she'd do. She removed her shoes and padded into my bedroom, kissing me gently. I reached up to her, but she pushed my hands away and asked, "Do you really love me?" "What?" I could have given a long explanation, but I kept it simple. "Of course I do. If that's true, then do everything I say. No questions." This was unexpected. My gentle, passive girlfriend was now giving me orders. What had Mrs. Meyer's talk done? I nodded in agreement. The streetlights provided enough light to see Dawn in her old bathrobe, hair in a loose bun. She pulled a sleep mask from her pocket and blindfolded me. Things were getting interesting. "What about your ex-wife? What if she wants to reconcile?" I shook my head angrily. "No, she's nothing to me after what she did." She continued, "What about the women in the trailer park? Mrs. Meyer said many want to sleep with you. They're prettier and willing. You wouldn't have to wait anymore." Trying to clear my head, I said, "Dawn, I don't want anyone else. I'm all yours. You showed me I could love again." Suddenly, she kissed me. "I know waiting has been hard for you. It's been hard for me too, but I'm still dealing with trauma from my ex." Horrified, I responded, "Dawn, you know I'd never force you, right?" "Yes, you've been loving and kind. Even Jacob noticed. But I'm not ready for that yet. You've been so patient. After Mrs. Meyer told me about other women, I wanted to give you some relief." "You definitely did. If you'll untie me, I'd like to return the favor." "I'm sorry, but I'm still not ready for that." My heart sank, but she added, "I have another idea." I was all ears. "What do you have in mind?" "You just lay there and listen." "Okay," I agreed, wondering what she planned. She told me about her past, and I listened. When I took off the sleep mask, she was tying her robe. "I have to get back to my trailer. Jacob will wake soon." Clutching her robe, she bent over and kissed me. "I love you, Paul. We'll be together soon, I promise." After our early morning moment, I was even more in love with Dawn. At home, I took every chance to caress her. Jacob and I even made a game of it. If I kissed Dawn, I'd ask Jacob, "What day is it?" If he said it was double kiss day, I'd kiss her again. He loved deciding how many kisses his mommy got. When we went out together, I became more protective, feeling our relationship was getting serious. I withdrew $2,500 from savings and bought her a 2014 Toyota Corolla so she didn't have to take the bus to work. The exterior was rough, but I had it checked to ensure it was safe. Dawn laughed, cried, and then took me to her trailer where we made out like kids. On our first date, I took Dawn to the eye doctor. He gave her medicated eye drops for her dryness, and we ordered new glasses. A couple of weeks later, she had new Dolce & Gabbana frames, transforming her look into a hot, naughty librarian. I kept jokingly asking her to shush me and charge overdue fines. Work was going well, too. I was converted to full-time status with benefits, got a raise, and a month later was promoted to shipping supervisor. Feeling optimistic, I decided to buy an engagement ring and propose at the company holiday party in December, even though my divorce wouldn't be final until March. I figured a diamond ring would reassure Dawn about our future. For Thanksgiving, I asked Dawn to be my date to the holiday party. She hesitated, feeling her clothes weren't nice enough. Mrs. Meyer suggested her sister, Betty Ward, a retired seamstress. Betty took Dawn's measurements and returned in 2 weeks with a beautiful party dress. They kept it a surprise from me. On the night of the party, I went next door to pick up Dawn. Mrs. Meyer was there to babysit Jacob. When I mentioned the party would be over by midnight, she laughed and said, "If you bring her home before morning, there's something seriously wrong with you." Then I heard Dawn's soft voice. "I'm ready, Paul." I turned, and my jaw dropped. Dawn wore a bright red knee-length dress with a low back and one shoulder sleeve that modestly concealed her cleavage but left the other shoulder bare. The dress hugged her curves, disproving her claim of having an ironing board figure. I silently thanked my lucky stars that she was with me. I wore a charcoal-colored wool suit from my vice president days, but I felt like a dull rock next to my stunning date. Mrs. Meyer had styled Dawn's long, dark hair into a braided side bun. Her red shoes matched the dress and were sensible flats, unlike Tiffany's dangerous 4-inch heels. Dawn was undeniably the most beautiful woman at the party. When we walked into the hotel ballroom, many younger guys checked out my date. I put a possessive arm around her and asked, 20 feet in and guys are already checking you out? Should I be worried?" She kissed my hand and said, "Paul, I'm not Tiffany. You'll never have to worry about me." We found seats, and I got us champagne. The DJ announced it was time to dance, starting with a slow song. Dawn and I danced, continuing through the next slow song. When the music got faster, we returned to our seats. A younger executive asked Dawn to dance, but she politely refused. Another executive from sales asked her, and I encouraged her to go for one dance. I watched him draw her close but kept my cool, ready to act if necessary. Soon he whispered something in her ear. Dawn pulled away and returned to our table, visibly upset. "That man invited me to his room later. He doesn't even know me." I switched from jealous to concerned. "Are you all right?" "Yes, I told him the only man I was interested in sharing a bed with was the man who brought me, and then I walked away." Processing her words, I asked, "Dawn, are you saying—" Before I could finish, she slipped into my lap and kissed me passionately. "Yes," she whispered. "You've been loving and patient, making me feel secure. I'm not afraid anymore, Paul. Let's get a room and go upstairs." The second chapter of my life began in room 538 of the historic El Rancho Hotel on Route 66. Once inside, I grabbed a small bottle of champagne from the minibar. Expensive, but worth it. I poured us each a glass and took her out on the balcony. The sun had set, and the city lights provided a beautiful view. Holding her from behind, I reflected on my journey. Months ago, I was devastated by my wife and brother's betrayal, losing half my fortune. Now, I had reset my life, with a decent job and a woman who restored my confidence. I was ready for the next step. As it got cooler, I covered her with a shawl, then knelt and took out the ring box. Lost in thought, she didn't notice until I tickled her bum. Laughing, she turned and asked, "Paul, what are you doing?" Her words died when she saw me on one knee. She burst into tears, happy ones, I hoped. "Aurora Don Santos," I began. "You changed my life. When you made Machado for me, I knew I wanted to be with you forever. Will you marry me?" She nodded yes through her tears and held out her hand. I slipped the ring on her finger, picked her up, and carried her to the bed. We spent the night and early morning practicing the art of conception until we were exhausted. My new fiancée was committed to giving me what I wanted. We woke up for breakfast, then requested a late checkout for one more try. This time she wore her glasses, playfully fining me every time I groaned. Coming home at noon in our party clothes raised eyebrows at Western Sky's mobile home park. Dawn's wholesome reputation probably made people think I had corrupted her, but their scowls turned to smiles when she showed off her engagement ring. Mrs. Meyer was pleased, and Jacob was thrilled that I was going to marry his mommy and be his new daddy. Now that I had put a ring on Dawn's finger, we no longer had to hide that we were sleeping together. If Jacob was in the trailer at bedtime, we'd hold back and just kiss and caress in bed after he was tucked in. If those kisses and caresses led to more, well, that was a bonus for me. Dawn surprised me. 5 Sundays later at St. Francis Church, Father Thomas gave a sermon on Genesis 1:28 about being fruitful and multiplying. During the monthly blessing for expectant mothers, Dawn stood up and joined the others. It took all my self-control not to jump up and shout for joy. She wasn't showing yet, so Jacob was confused. My hands shook as I explained he was going to be a big brother. After the blessing, she returned, and I threw my arms around her. "I love you with all my heart," was all I could say. In a few weeks, I would be free from Tiffany and able to marry my new wife, the mother of my children. It was late February, about 3 weeks before my divorce from Tiffany was finalized, and I couldn't wait to marry Dawn. My fiancée was about 12 weeks pregnant. Given her tiny size, her baby bump was already showing, and I made sure to sing to it and kiss it every night. It felt so good to know this baby was truly mine. Even though it was only the size of a tennis ball, there was nothing I wouldn't do for it. There was no way my brother could take this child from me. Just as I thought everything was going smoothly, my cell phone rang one Saturday while we were grocery shopping. Caller ID showed it was my younger sister Janet. This was unusual. Janet lived in San Diego, and we hadn't seen each other since Christmas at Mom's place, right before my marriage blew up. I hadn't heard from her when I filed for divorce, which was expected. Janet was close to my brother growing up, so I figured she'd support him. This call meant something was wrong with Mom, or my brother needed money or a kidney donor. If it was about Mom, we could talk. If it was about Eric, I'd end the call. I answered the phone. "What's up, Janet? Is Mom okay?" I asked. "Yes, she's fine," Janet replied. "Great. Thanks for calling," I said, ready to hang up. "Paul, wait, don't hang up," Janet said urgently. Sis, you know I have zero interest in our brother. Unless you're calling to tell me he's dead, we're done talking, I responded coldly. Scott's not in the U.S. He wants his wife and kids back, so he's gone to India to beg Amrita to forgive him, Janet explained. I laughed at the idea of my brother being sorry about anything. I couldn't care less if that backstabbing creep dies. If he's in India, I hope he gets bitten by a cobra. Goodbye, Janet. I ended the call. Dawn came back from the produce section and saw I was upset. I explained about my sister's call when my phone rang again. Janet, again. I answered. I told you, sis, I don't care about Eric. Why are you calling me? I demanded. Paul, please don't cut me off. I'm not calling about Eric. I'm calling about Paul Jr., Janet said. When she called him that, my heart turned to ice. His name is Paul. He's not my son. My name is no longer on the birth certificate, I said, my voice cold and hard. Eric says, Janet began. Would you like to screw off now or piss me off more? I interrupted angrily. Damn it, Paul, listen. Eric wrecked your life, and I can't excuse that. But our nephew is innocent. He needs our help, Janet insisted. I shouted, Oh, please, Janet, that kid is no relative of mine. He's dead to me, just like his parents. I didn't mean it when I called Paul a hellspawn. He was just an innocent baby. Hearing his name reminded me of the pain of losing him, and I wanted to lash out at Tiffany. By now, I was so loud the guy on the loading dock could hear me. I shut off my phone, gathered Dawn, Jacob, and our groceries, and left. For the rest of the evening, the call's bad feelings put me in a foul mood, affecting my two favorite people. This made me feel even worse. During Jacob's goodnight prayers, he blessed his mom, his grandparents in the Philippines, and Mrs. Meyer. But when he came to me, he said, God bless my new daddy, and please don't let him forget he loves me. I broke down. I scooped Jacob up, sat on the bed, held him close, kissed his head, sobbed, and told him how much I loved him. Dawn came in, gently pried him from my arms, tucked him in, and led me out of his room. She went back in and assured him I was just very sad but would always love him. When she came out, she led me to our bedroom. During all the months I'd been in Gallup, I'd tried to stay strong and kept my feelings about the betrayals and divorce locked away. My sister's call had torn open those wounds. Emotionally crippled, I stood still as my fiancé unbuttoned my shirt, removed my jeans, and laid me face down on the bed. Then I felt her hands rubbing my back, soon followed by her lips kissing from the base of my neck to my lower back. You're going to be fine, she whispered, her soft Filipina accent making it sound like toe-getter. Hearing her, I realized several important things. 1, I was not alone. I had a loving woman and a sweet little boy who I'd soon be adopting. 2, my soon-to-be ex and my sister had no real control over me anymore. And 3, I loved hearing Dawn's accent. It was incredibly arousing. Rolling onto my back, I reached for her and pulled her to me. She was wearing the same frumpy light blue dress and rubber sandals she had on when I first met her, and she looked hot as hell in it. I made love to her, caressing her belly. I thought about my mom, now retired and living in the house I bought her in Fresno. She was probably sad since my brother and his family were now in India. She'd lost access to her granddaughters, who she adored. Given she'd always despised Tiffany, I doubted she'd be involved with little Paul. Maybe it would make her happy to learn about her 2 new grandchildren. Kissing my fiancée, I asked her, "How would you feel about meeting my mother?" The next day I called Mom and told her I wanted her to meet Dawn and Jacob. I was surprised when her response was not exactly enthusiastic, but she said it would be nice to see me and have a little boy in the house again. Dawn and I both got approval from our jobs for a week's vacation. Since the drive from Gallup to Fresno was 12 hours by car, we opted to fly. The weather was cool, so both of us wore hooded sweatshirts. Dawn's hoodie did a good job of hiding her pregnant belly, so Mom would be pleasantly surprised when Dawn took it off. When the car service dropped us off, the house looked better than when I bought it for her. My mother had done some nice landscaping in the front. Mom greeted us at the door, giving me and Jacob a hug, but only shaking Dawn's hand, saying, "It's nice to meet you." And that was all. Given this was her future daughter-in-law, I suddenly got a cold feeling in my stomach. We went into the kitchen and sat at the small table. Mom served Jacob a glass of orange juice and a peanut butter sandwich, which he happily accepted, while Dawn and I just asked for coffee. Only after making sure everyone was served properly did she sit down to talk. The bad feeling in my stomach turned to an iceberg when Mom started speaking. "You know, Paul, your divorce isn't final yet. Dawn seems nice and Jacob is a sweet boy, but don't you think it's too soon to get engaged again? I mean, it's been less than a year since Tiffany made her mistake." Mom had definitely played me. With Jacob sitting in front of me, I couldn't yell. In a quiet voice, I growled, "Mother, I think Alzheimer's is affecting your memory. My ex-wife didn't make a mistake. She got pregnant by deliberately sleeping with my brother. And no, it's not too soon. In a few weeks, my divorce will be final, and I'll be starting my new life with a woman who loves me." Mom leaned over and patted Dawn on the hand. "I'm sure Dawn is very loving and kind, but you had a good life before Tiffany's bad decision. I just don't think you should rush into things. After all, it's still not too late to consider reconciliation." That last word hit me like a Mack truck. Then it dawned on me. Something wasn't right. If my own mother, who absolutely detested my ex-wife, was urging me to take back the cheating strumpet, then I heard a car pull up outside. I realized I was caught in an ambush. Sure enough, I heard the front door open and 2 sets of feet come inside. Mom said to Jacob, "Come on, sweetie. The grown-ups are going to be talking and you'll be bored. Let's go find some nice cartoons to watch together." Mom and Jacob went into another room. 2 women walked in. One was my sister Janet holding little Paul, and the other was a woman I never wanted to see again. "Tiffany," she greeted me softly. "Hello, Paul. You're looking good." I gave her a critical glance. Despite all the beauty treatments and Botox injections, her 33-year-old face looked haggard and worn. I guess raising an 11-month-old infant alone could do that to you. Too bad. "Thanks. You look like crap," I snapped. Then I asked Dawn to step out of the room and call us a cab. It was time to leave. "It hasn't been easy," Tiffany began. Before I could start a tirade on how too bad it wasn't easy, my sister handed the baby to Tiffany and slid a large brown envelope across the table to me. I didn't bother to open it. I just asked, "What the hell is this, Janet?" My sister explained, "It's a California Judicial Council Form CIV 110, the official request for dismissal of your divorce. Tiffany wants to reconcile before the divorce is final, but since you filed, you have to sign the request to dismiss the case. Once you fill it out and sign it, I can file it in court for you." This was all happening too fast. First my mother and now my sister were urging me to halt the divorce. I held up my hand. "Wait a minute, something's not right. Who are you representing, Janet?" "Since little Paul is my nephew, I'm acting on Tiffany's behalf." "So my own sister and mother are siding with the ex-wife who destroyed my life?" My voice was getting angrier. Mom stepped in, taking the baby from my soon-to-be ex. Tiffany cut in, desperately pleading, "Paul, please think it over. You loved me and Paul Jr. once. We can be a family again. The house is so empty without you." If she thought calling him Junior would soften me, she was wrong. It only reminded me that the baby came from Eric, not me, and she tried to cover it up. My voice louder, I snapped back. "Sis, first of all, take these papers and shove them up you know where. And as for you, cheating strumpet, the house feels empty? Wow, that's ironic, isn't it? Back when I was in the house, all that space was taken up by you and my brother screwing. I was in the way." I glared at all 3 women. "You are all absolutely delusional. Tiffany, in what possible reality did you think I would ever forgive what you did to me?" Then I heard a noise and looked to my left. Dawn was standing just outside the kitchen entrance, her eyes filling with fear. She needed me. I took a deep, calming breath to control my anger. The last thing I needed was to get arrested on some trumped-up domestic violence charge. Janet was a lawyer, after all, and after what she pulled today, I wouldn't put it past her to pull a manipulative stunt like that. After what I said, Tiffany totally lost her composure. Sobbing, she got on her knees, grabbed my legs, and began rapid-fire pleading. "Paul, please listen to me. I made a huge mistake. I didn't love Eric. He was just a stupid fling. I ruined everything, and I'm so sorry. I'll always love you and want you to stay my husband." I looked down at her, stone-faced. She stopped and took a breath. Then the bargaining began. "If you stop the divorce, you can have everything back, and you'll be rich again. The house, the cars, the bank accounts, the credit cards. I'll put everything in your name. I'll even sign a post-nuptial agreement. I'll give you all my email and social media passwords. We can go to couples therapy. Anything. Wow. If I stayed married to Tiffany, I could be rich again. Get back almost everything she'd taken from me. No more trailer park. No more Volkswagen van. No more shipping supervisor job. But it would also mean no more homemade Filipino food. No more Saturdays at the La Mananita Market. No more Sunday Mass. And then, no more Dawn and Jacob. And no more self-respect. Screw that." Totally calm now, I responded slowly. "Tiffany, I have to hand it to you. This is indeed an interesting proposition. It's actually kind of funny when you think about it. See, if you'd made this offer before I left for New Mexico, I might have actually gone for it. Oh, wait, I couldn't. You and Eric were still screwing then, weren't you? Bad timing, I guess. I shook my head and took another calming breath. It was time to take Tiffany to school. Let me help you get your facts straight. You're a cheater who slept with my backstabbing brother behind my back and then tried to hide it. Now you want me back? Let me make this clear. Unless you can give me back every single dollar you took from me, stick that baby back in your womb, and unscrew my a-hole brother Eric, there is no coming back. As far as I'm concerned, both of you cease to exist. The night he stuck his Johnny in you. Janet protested. Paul, wait, little Paul is innocent. You can't just walk away from him. I turned to my sister. Oh, I can and I will. That goes for you as well, Janet. I loved and trusted you, yet you sided with the woman who destroyed my life. We're done. Finally, I turned to my mother. Mom, you raised 3 of us single-handedly. I bought you this house because, frankly, you deserve it. That being said, what even motivated you to try this stunt to keep Tiffany and me together? You sure weren't singing that song when I married her. Quite the opposite. You hated her, remember? Mom was looking at the ground, crying softly as she held the baby. Please, Paulie's my grandson. He's innocent. I didn't do it for Tiffany. I did it for him. He needs a good father. I felt bile build up in my throat. Now it was my eyes tearing up. Let me remind you, mother dear, that baby has a father. It's just not me anymore. What's more, it will never be me. I honestly feel sorry for you, Mom. Eric screwed you over like he did me. You've got 3 grandkids by 2 different mothers for my piece of crap brother. But given how his wife took her kids out of the country, I doubt you'll ever see 2 of them again. That leaves you with Tiffany, who's never been a paragon of virtue. And until you disown my little brother, you'll never see my children again. No matter what you do, you lose. Shocked, Mom gasped. What do you mean there's more than just Jacob? Dawn stepped in, holding Jacob's hand. Paul, sweetheart, the cab's here. Her hoodie was now draped over her arm, so her baby bump was quite visible. I loved how she just let all 3 women know who the alpha female in the room was. And those 5 words were all it took. Yes, Mom. As you can see, Dawn is expecting. Looking at them all, I delivered my parting shot. The best part is, I know for sure it was me who put it there. I paused to kiss my fiancée, then we walked out with only the sweet sound of Tiffany's sobs behind us. This ambush at Mom's place marked a turning point for Dawn and me. The night she came to my trailer months before, I let her tie me up, giving her total control, which made her feel hot and safe. That night, Dawn made me promise she was the only woman I'd ever love and asked if I'd ever reconcile with Tiffany. I swore she was the only one for me and that I'd never reconcile with my ex. Today's failed ambush proved beyond a doubt that no one, my ex-wife, my backstabbing sister, not even my misguided mother, could take me from Aurora Dawn Santos. My heart belonged to her. Now I'm no expert, but as an eyewitness to the event, I have a theory. By shutting down the 3 most influential women in my 37 years of life, my petite Filipina princess with the facial imperfection proved to herself how powerful she truly was. A 4'11" irresistible force of nature. While our Zek's life was great before the estrogen-fueled showdown, the aftermath left Dawn much stronger emotionally, and it really opened up her personality. I soon realized I no longer had to worry about triggering Dawn's trauma. It was as if the door to her past misuse was now closed and locked, the key lost. The morning after the confrontation, I woke to the sight of my incredibly hot pregnant wife kissing me. In Palawan Island, the Philippines, the sound of a rooster crowing was carried by the warm Palawan breeze through the window of our hotel in El Nido. The rooster was too late as we were already awake, my bride buried in a mountain of pillows for comfort. As a wedding gift, I'd surprised Dawn with a honeymoon back to the Philippines. Jacob was staying with his Lola and Lolo in Zamboanga City, and I don't know who was happier about it, Dawn's parents or their grandson. Financially, the trip didn't damage my savings too much, maybe just a good-sized dent. Besides, this was all to please my Zamboangan princess and her precious belly cargo, who we decided to name Tala, Tagalog for Bright Star. With 3 months left in her pregnancy, I spared no effort or expense to pamper them. We explored El Nido's white sand beaches, coral reefs, and limestone cliffs during the day, and dined like royalty in the evenings. Every night before bed, I'd rub her expanding belly with lavender massage oil a friend gave her at a baby shower at her parents' home. Thanks to her new confidence, my wife had become even more adventurous and assertive. As for work, we both quit our jobs right before the honeymoon. I got a call from my former boss asking me to join him in a new software-as-a-service startup in California. At a salary that dwarfed what Dawn and I made combined at our current jobs, I happily accepted. After all, I had at least 2 kids' college funds to save up for. With any luck, that number could significantly increase. Jacob was now legally my son. After a quick trip to the Roswell Correctional Center to visit Jacob's biological father, Danilo Santos, and in exchange for $5,000 cash wired to his uncle Mauricio, I walked away with Danilo's signature relinquishing parental rights. I adopted Jacob not long after. The one condition of my new job was relocating back to the Palo Alto area. In honor of what Dawn had gone through, I donated my trailer to the local women's crisis shelter to be used as an emergency safe house. Since Dawn's trailer had more room than Mrs. Myers's, we gave it to her to thank her for everything she'd done for us.